Hello and welcome to this week's issue of BRN United. I hope your fall is beginning in a wonderful way. The weather here in Harrisburg has been really pleasant the last couple of days. About 3 times a year, the key leaders from our BRN team gather together for a time of prayer and planning and sharing. This would include our state staff. It would also include the consultants we have that work with healthy churches and with multiplying churches and with missional living. Each time we gather, we're really wrestling with the question, are we all that God wants us to be personally, but also are we doing all that God wants us to do to help fulfill the vision that God has given us to foster spiritual transformation of persons and communities with the gospel. This gathering, which was just last week, was particularly unique because obviously we're in a time of transition, and it's not a time to look at new things, but it is a time to ask the question, are there some places where we need to go deeper? Are there some places where we could be more effective? Do we need to kind of re-examine how we are approaching the carrying out of this vision of fostering spiritual transformation? And I want to share with you that we had a profound time together. Let me share some highlights, and we'll share more with you when we gather in November. I hope you're going to be a part of our annual meeting, November 3 and 4, and we'll be able to tell you more stories about what I'm going to share with you now. The first question we asked was, how do we know if we're fostering spiritual transformation? What's the metric? How do you evaluate that? And we believe that while we have the one vision of fostering spiritual transformation, there really is one goal. And I want you to hear this very carefully and very clearly. Our one goal is healthy churches. Let me say that again, because sometimes the perception is that all that we're focused on is church planting. And church planting is critical for us. The lostness in Penn, South Jersey, and the need for gospel preaching, biblically focused congregations across Pennsylvania and South Jersey is absolutely critical. We are passionate about that. We also realize that to have healthy church plants, we need to have healthy churches that come alongside and partner and facilitate the planting of churches. So as a team, we agreed that our one goal is healthy churches. Oh, what's a healthy church? How do you define what is a healthy church? And there's lots of books and lots of ideas about what that might mean. Many of them deal with counting nickels and noses and buildings and that sort of thing. But we really began to ask the question, if our focus is on healthy churches and the vision is spiritual transformation, what would be a characteristic, or what would be characteristics of a church that reflects that? We believe there are 3 things. One is a healthy church engages its community. Engage means that we are outside of the 4 walls of wherever we're meeting as a church, and our primary focus and presence is out in the community, outside of the confines of where we've gathered as a congregation. And that in doing that, it puts us in the streets and in the factories and the schools and the offices and the parks and in the stores as a presence for Jesus Christ, where we can live out the Christian life as well as verbally share what it means to be a follower of Christ. So engaging the community. We believe a second behavior that would be characteristic of a healthy church is it is a church that has a disciple-making process. That if I'm a person who doesn't know Jesus, and I come into the influence of your congregation, what is the process that your congregation has, or any congregation has, that would lead me from being a person who is lost without a relationship with Christ to one who becomes a Christ follower and who matures to the point that I then become one who can multiply and share my faith with others that they might become disciples of Christ as well. We believe a second key behavior is that as a congregation, a healthy congregation, is one that has an intentional process for the discipling and the multiplication of disciples. We believe the third characteristic, the third behavior, is it is a congregation that has a robust leadership development process, where there's an intentional strategy, an intentional method, if you will, an intentional culture that in the congregation they're about helping people grow not only in their walk with Christ, but in their capacity to exercise leadership. Now, sometimes that can be defined as, study, courses, and that certainly is important. We want people to grow in their knowledge of their faith and their knowledge of leadership in the life of the church, but it also means that they have increased opportunity to exercise that leaders that are being trained have an opportunity to exercise leadership. We believe those three behaviors are the key to what would be seen as a church that is healthy, a healthy church. And we're passionate, we're committed to helping every congregation strengthen its ministry, strengthen its engagement, strengthen its disciple making, strengthening its leadership development. And our teams, our BRN, in fact, we use the phrase one team. We're now one team, not three silos, but one team. Our one team, our BRN team, is committed to helping see our churches be healthy, as well as seeing new congregations planted. I'm excited about this. Our team is excited about this, and we look forward to telling more stories about what this looks like and actual examples of this already happening across Penn South Jersey in many of our churches. And we want to share those stories November 3 and 4 at our annual meeting. Go to our website, brnonline.org, and you can find out more information, and you can also register. Thank you. Look forward to talking with you next week.